Breaking news sources now telling CNN President Obama is reaching out to Iran about military action against ISIS. Our chief national security correspondent, Jim Sciutto, is working this story for us, and it's pretty amazing what we're hearing right now. Tell our viewers what you've learned.
Well, this is what we're just able to report, that the U.S. has opened communication channels with Iran. This is via the Iraqis regarding military action against ISIS. A senior U.S. military official and a senior Western diplomat tell CNN. These channels do not include coordinating military action against ISIS targets, these sources said, but are seen as necessary to deconflict U.S. and Iranian military operations. These channels are informal, I'm told, conducted on a case-by-case basis via the Iraqi military. The channels, however, have become necessary, says a U.S. military official, because the U.S. and Iran are now operating in the same spaces. As a result, accommodations must be made directly, this official said. And this includes airspace management so that U.S. and Iranian aircraft do not conflict while carrying out military operations in the same airspace. It's interesting to have this because earlier today, asked about this, General Lloyd Austin, he's the commander of Central Command. He was denying yet again any coordination with Iran, but we're told that there is indirect coordination via the Iraqi military to avoid such conflict of U.S. and Iranian military assets in the region. This happens as the president also sent a letter to Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, seeking cooperation against ISIS, as the campaign increasingly targets both ISIS and the Khorasan group. Bombmaker David Drugeon was central to administration concerns about the Khorasan group's plans to attack the U.S. And those fears helped spark U.S. airstrikes in Syria. With the overall air campaign now 3 months old, President Obama is moving ahead with plans to seek further authorization from Congress.
It is beneficial to the broader effort if we send a very clear signal to the international community, both to our allies and to our enemies, that the executive branch and the legislative branch are on the same page when it comes to the strategy.
Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, long a proponent of passing a new authorization, said the president believes the existing authority, which was passed just after 9/11 and directed specifically at al-Qaeda, is weak and outdated. A change from the administration's position to date, which is it has sufficient authority.
This is a president who was a constitutional scholar and I think has a very deep conviction that he doesn't want to leave to the next presidency an unbridled authority to make war.
A new authorization would specifically target ISIS. And a Democratic source tells CNN it might also leave the door open to deploying U.S. ground troops, an option the president has ruled out, but Republican lawmakers will not.
I'd like to see an authorization that, frankly, does not restrict the commander-in-chief.
As the president prepares to go to a GOP-controlled Congress for help, he is also reaching out to Iran. Mr. Obama addressing a letter to the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei last month, saying that the U.S. and Iran have shared interest in fighting ISIS, but the prospects for cooperation hinged on resolving the nuclear issue as well. On working with Iran, Republican leaders are decidedly less open.
I don't trust the Iranians. I don't think we need to bring them into this. And I would hope that the negotiations that are underway are serious negotiations, but I have my doubts.
The deadline for a nuclear agreement is nearing. That's November 24th, which you'll remember was already an extension of the original deadline in July. Secretary Kerry will travel to Vienna that weekend to help push through a final deal. And, you know, this letter will first confirmed by our own Elise Labott from the president to the supreme leader of Iran. It's interesting because he is, in effect, the president connecting these two issues, cooperation with Iran on ISIS and cooperation with Iran on the nuclear agreement, two areas, tremendous contention, and yet you see these two longtime adversaries with shared interests. And it's those shared interests that give U.S. officials a sense that possibly a deal is possible, and we're already seeing unusual military coordination regarding ISIS.
Yeah, this is a big deal. It's not every day the President of the United States writes a letter to the supreme leader of Iran. It's a major deal indeed. Thanks very much for that news. Jim Sciutto reporting.